So today in this video, we are going to talk about a new code editor called Cursor. And this will show you how you can increase your productivity by 10x, how you can become a 10x coder. And really, you can be a one-man army using this editor because you can write the code so fast. So to demo the cursor editor, I'm going to take a real product. This is the NGO Lab product, which is used for screening the candidates. And it has a lot of functionality. If you click on licenses, you can see using this product, you can do a knowledge assessment with multiple choice questions, coding assessment, and hands-on test on AWS, Azure, and GCP. So we want to add another functionality here, another extra test for, say, behavioral test. So once we are done with coding, you will see at the end of this coding session that we will add a extra functionality where we'll call it behavioral test. And for this session, we are going to write a backend API, which will read the DynamoDB and get the behavioral questions from there. And then we'll update the UI, will write a library function, which will read the backend API, and then we'll update the UI using this cursor editor. So let's go ahead and download the cursor editor. So once you will download, you can configure the editor for different models. You can choose which model you want to choose. So far, I'm using Claude 3.5. It seems to be the best one, but you can try any one of them and you can put your own API keys. Okay, so let's take a look at the backend code first. Now I'm in my backend code. Here I want to write a service which will return all the questions after reading a DynamoDB. So to write the service, I will say Control K, and then I will type write a service which reads behavioral questions table and return the questions and their ID to the caller. And then I just press enter. And here the code is generated. And it took the same pattern the way I'm writing all my services. For every service, I check the token, and if token is not found, I'll return with the error. So the same way, the cursor code generator understands my patterns and writes the code exactly as I would have written. Now I can just go and accept this change, and this change is accepted. And then I can go and see this file and do the diff and make sure everything is good before I commit. So now I'm in my front-end code where I want to write a function which will read my backend API and get me the data for behavioral questions. So for that, I will say Control K and say read the backend API called behavioral questions and return the results to the caller. Enter. Okay, now we can see the question is written, the API is written, and it again knows the pattern of the way I write the API. So it got the jot token, and we are putting the token in the call, and then we get the response and just return the response to the caller. So if everything looks good, I can click here, Control Accept or Control Shift Y, it accept. Now I would like to show you another thing. So suppose I have this method, which is API, which is already written here. I select all and then Control K and just say improve it and enter. Now, as you can see, this function is improved. The readability of the code is improved. As you can see, the post body is created a little differently than I have written. And here you can see it has added a couple of extra checks, which I didn't have it in my code. So this is one way you can take in your existing code and improve it with Cursor. It's beautiful. Now, if I want to accept it, Control Shift and Control Shift Y. Okay, this code is accepted. Now we can go here and look at the changes. So as you can see here, save comments on coding function is improved, And you can see it has added even try-catch block also, which was not there earlier. And you can quickly see before you commit everything, everything looks good, and it's much better function now. And this is the new function which we wrote, get behavioral question. Now you can just go ahead and commit it. So now let's work on the UI. So this is the UI of my application. So my product name is NGO Lab, where I have multiple different kind of tests are there, knowledge assessment, this is multiple choice, then coding, and then hands-on test in AWS Sandbox, in Azure and GCP. Actually, this is the differentiating factor for me from all other products you see in the market, that we give a sandbox in one click. However, let's come back to modifying this application. So I want to add another card here which talks about soft skill test, behavioral test, right? So now let's see what I can do to add that card. So this is my file name, and I come here. This is my different cards are there, right? Knowledge assessment, coding, test assessment, and then AWS Sandbox, as you've seen it here. Okay, now I want to add another card. So for that, I come here, and after coding assessment test, which breaks down here, say Control K, add a similar card for behavioral test. That's it, generate. This is adding the code because this is the Next.js. Hopefully my screen must be refreshed. Let's see here. And it is refreshed. And it has added a behavioral test. And this text also, it's added by itself. I have not written this. Now when I will click, I don't know what will happen. Let's click and see. Okay, nothing is happening. So they have not wired the click. So as you can see, this is how a card is added in my UI. Me doing only maybe 30 seconds of work saying add a similar card for behavioral test. Now we will go and try to wire the other things on what happens when the button gets clicked. So let's figure that out. Now I want to build a page which will show all the behavioral questions. So to do that, we'll come here and just press Control L. That opens a chat window here. Ask anything. And here I'm typing, create a file named behavioral test which shows data from get behavioral question API call, which is imported from question text. So I wrote basically, I want a file which shows the data after calling this API, and this API is written in question.txt file. Now the whole code is written here. As you can see, everything is here. Now, only thing remaining for me is to cut and paste in a behavioral file. So that's what I'm going to do. Here, I created a new file, copied this code. Now, once I have copied this code, now I have a behavioral text file which shows the behavioral questions. Now, this file is getting called when I click on these buttons. So let's see what's the code is there for this button. So in this file of assign for test, I already see that we added this card, and this card already have a on click, and by default, Cursor took this name, assign behavioral test, and passing the key ID and the ID which I am passing in all other calls. So it took the pattern and built that way. So the file name I created is behavioral test, and passing the key ID and all that. Let's leave it as is, and let's see once it compile if my method get called, and do I see a new page with all my behavioral test questions. So I click here and I do see that. So now obviously I have to clean it up and I have to add a couple of other things, but this is a very quick and fast demo of building an app from end to end, writing code for API, and in the front end then calling that API, building a UI and showing all that code. Maybe it would have taken maybe 5-6 minutes total. So this is the power of AI now. Okay, so thank you for your time, and let me know what other things you'd like to see on this channel. Thank you.